Then next class of virulence factors is the toxins. Now this is what makes Staph aureus so toxic, like some of your relationships. Now we have first enterotoxins, and then entero kind of means GIT or intestines or something like that. Now there are two types of the enterotoxins. We have enterotoxin A and enterotoxin B, and usually when food is contaminated with Staph aureus, they preform these toxins in the food, and cause what we call can cause food poisoning. So enterotoxins actually cause food poisoning. Now enterotoxin A is heat labile. Heat labile, that means it can be destroyed by heat, and it causes watery diarrhea. So heat, and enterotoxin A is heat labile and causes watery diarrhea. That's how can you remember it. And then enterotoxin B is heat stable and can cause pseudomembranous colitis. I'm not saying it causes pseudomembranous colitis more than Clostridium difficile, but it can cause it. Now we have exfoliative toxins. Now these toxins actually cleaves the epidermal skin attachments, leading to scalded skin syndrome. Now what I mean is if these are the cells of the skin tightly closed like that, pardon my drawing, what these toxins do is they come in here and then cleave the attachments of the cells to each other, and then cause them to be far apart from each other, causing the syndrome called scalded skin syndrome. And you actually see it as the skin kind of peeling off, and it usually happens in especially children. Now another toxin is the toxic shock syndrome, toxin 1, and then it causes toxic shock syndrome. And usually what toxic shock syndrome is a super antigen. Now the reason we call it a super antigen is it's able to exaggerate the response of T cells and MHC class 2 molecules in the body. Now normally when there is an antigen, when there is a foreign antigen in the body, antigen presenting cells like dendritic cells take in the antigen and process it, put it on the cell membrane, and then presents it to the T cells, right? Presents it to the T cells for them to recognize the particular antigen and work against it. So every particular antigen binds to a specific T cell receptor. But then what happens in the case of a super antigen is that the super antigen is able to activate many different kinds of T cells at the same time. So it causes a large release of cytokines from the T cells, and then which can lead to a cytokine storm and actually what we call shock, because it causes excessive vasodilation, which can lead to hypotension and then fever because of all the cytokines that are produced. And these three are as important signs of toxic shock syndrome: fever, hypotension, and a nasty rash, right? So release of these toxins causes toxic shock syndrome, and it actually acts like a super antigen, activating a lot of T cells at the same time. Now this was very common before in women who were using tampons and then nasal packing. Now Staph aureus is a a natural skin flora, right? So when you create an environment for it, a conducive environment for it, staph is able to hemolyze red blood cells. It means it loves blood. Now, when females were using tampons, like holding up their menstrual blood and all, um, staph aureus is on the skin, right? And then there's blood. So if it comes into prolonged contact with the blood, you create a conducive environment for the staph to produce more toxins, right? Or for example, when someone is bleeding in the nose and then say cotton is put there for a long time, it soaks the blood up. Staph aureus gets in there, gets a favorable condition to grow and produce its toxins, and then it can lead to toxic shock syndrome. So that's one of the virulence factors of Staphylococcus aureus. Now let's talk about the enzymes. The first one is the catalase enzyme, which we have spoken about. So catalase is actually supposed to break down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen. And hydrogen peroxide is a reactive oxygen species that phagocytic cells use in killing microbes. So if you are able to evade hydrogen peroxide, then you will evade killing. So Staph aureus actually produces this enzyme catalase, which is able to break down hydrogen peroxide into water and oxygen gas. And when this test is performed in lab, you see bubbles, and that's a confirmation that the species is catalase positive. Sorry. And the bubbles are actually due to the oxygen gas that is being produced. And another enzyme is the coagulase, which we have spoken about also. So coagulase converts fibrinogen, a zymogen, into fibrin, which is more like a clot. So it forms fibrin around itself to help it stay in one location and cause localized infections like abscesses and whatever. So that helps it to kind of protect itself from killing, and that's why it's a virulence factor. Another enzyme produced by Staphylococcus aureus is the high who named these things? This right here that you see, yeah, it breaks down hyaluronic acid. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. In the connective tissue and then the basement membrane of the skin, kind of breaks it down and facilitates the spread of Staph aureus into the skin and the spread of the infection to cause more harm. And now there is another enzyme called the leukocidin. So when you hear leuco, we are dealing with white blood cells, and cidin is more like protein killing something or whatever. So they produce leukocidins, which actually kills phagocytes like neutrophils and macrophages, and also alter their signaling pathways. So neutrophils and macrophages are actually supposed to phagocytize the Staph aureus and then break it down, but then they are able to escape that by killing the neutrophils so that they are able to stay longer and cause their infections. And then they have nucleases which break down DNA. So those are the virulence factors of Staphylococcus aureus, or the properties or characteristics or the features of Staph aureus that helps it to cause more harm to the host and invade the host's immune system and stay longer. So diseases caused by Staph aureus, we have abscesses, that is when they are a bit localized with a covering themselves with a fibrin, and then they can cause food poisoning with the enterotoxins A and B, toxic shock syndrome with a TSS1, that's the toxic shock syndrome toxin 1, and it can cause scalded skin syndrome with their exfoliative toxins. It can cause cellulitis, furuncles, arthritis, osteomyelitis, and septicemia. So these are some of the diseases caused by Staphylococcus aureus, and I hope you are following.